presented. I think that would be a surprise. Remember, there's 14 other guys working out, not just Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, but those are good. They're going to get the most attention for obvious reasons. The Cleveland Browns sent their contingent there on Wednesday. They wanted to have dinner with Hunter and dinner with Sanders and get to know both of them in a more personal and intimate setting. They also have a private workout set up with Shedeur Sanders ideally next week. The Giants have a large contingent there. Notably absent is head coach Brian Daboll, who says he's not big on pro days. He prefers the private workout, and the Giants are hoping to set up a private workout with Shedeur Sanders next week as well. So really it's a chance for both of these teams that are picking second and third. And we're operating under the assumption that Cam Ward's going one and that Tennessee's going to sit there and take him. To get a sense of whether Sanders is the guy they want leading their franchise for the long term, or whether they're better off taking someone like an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and figuring out quarterback later in the draft.
All right, as a GM, what is at stake today? Let's focus in on Shadur. Look, Travis Hunter is brilliant. Everyone loves him, and there aren't any questions. Shedeur Sanders is the really interesting piece of this puzzle. As a GM, what's at stake today, and what did Dan just say that struck with you?
Yeah, the headline is Brian Daboll's not there. They are not going to take Shedeur Sanders at 3 without their head coach being there. Typically, if you want to have a private workout, Greeny, you go there, maybe have dinner with Travis Hunter, you watch him work out, then tonight you have dinner with Shadur, and then see him not only at the pro day, but then see him in a private workout. What you're looking to respond to him, you're looking for mental toughness, resiliency, leadership, Greeny. The fact that a head coach of a top 3 pick isn't at the showcase or pro day, whatever it is, tells us a lot about what their plans are.
Okay, so we have, go ahead, Gross.
He didn't go to Cam Ward's pro day either. And I'm pretty sure if Cam Ward's there at 3, the Giants would take him. So I just think that's a peculiarity of Daboll's. He doesn't love that pro day as an evaluation tool.
That's not apples to apples.
All right, let's not get bogged down in this. One way or another, he's not there. Shedeur Sanders is going to be the center of so much attention here. Orlovsky, we have set the table for you here. Breaking it down from a quarterback perspective, I have heard every possible opinion on him. That's my job as the host of the draft, is just to assemble as much opinion as I can possibly get. I can't remember a player that I heard more different perspective on at that position than I've heard about Shedeur Sanders. Dan, go.
He's the hardest quarterback I've had to evaluate since I've gotten into TV. Because 75% of his snaps don't matter, Greeny. And that's the reality for everybody that's evaluating Shedeur Sanders. Half of the snaps that he had at Colorado are thrown inside of 5 yards. It feels like when you watch his tape, every ball is thrown at the line of scrimmage. You're not drafting him in the top 5 for that, right? So throw that out. That's half the snaps. And then 25% of the snaps, the offensive line protection is so terrible that I don't care if you have Lamar Jackson, you wait 25% of his snaps. And there's a lot that you like. I mean, he's elite with his field vision. Elite, all pro level. When you watch you watch the tape when it comes to that and you go, well, that looks like Tua Tagovailoa. And the examples are his ability to see things pre and post snap. Quarters coverage, shell coverage, you're going to clear the bottom of the screen and try to get Travis Hunter out the backside. Look how early he throws this football. I mean, that ball is thrown with 4 defenders with vision on him to a spot. That's all pro level. Again, shell coverage, but it's a different version. At the bottom of the screen, you get what we call quarters defense. At the top, you get what we call cover 2 or a half-field safety. You got to move the bottom of the screen first. He does that. That shallow defender and then that deep safety, you're trying to vacate the middle of the field. That top safety's just going to that corner. The middle of the field where this ball has to get thrown, but it's got to be perfectly over the top, but also before that backside. That's flawless, okay? So that's a lot like Tua. Rhythm, timing, ball placement, he's all pro at. The question mark is, how much does he have that is uncoachable? Is his size uncoachable? No. Is his physical traits uncoachable? No. Is his athleticism uncoachable? No. And I think that's where you get the teetering of opinion on Shadur. I think he's going to be a quarterback you win a lot of games with.
So, Mike T., that's really the question. For those who don't follow this process closely and maybe didn't watch a lot of Colorado's games, that's really the read on Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
All the stuff from the pocket, all the processing, all that, off the charts, right? A+. And again, I'm not an analyst, I'm not an evaluator, I'm just assembling what I hear. But doesn't have the huge arm,
right,
doesn't have the elite athleticism, doesn't have the elite size. How important is that if you're drafting in the top 3, 4, 5 picks in the draft. Mike.
Yeah, it's important, and here's why his ceiling is a little bit lower. Look, the comp I've used, Greeny, is Kirk Cousins. I think at the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL that you can win a lot of games with. I agree with Dan very similarly. But when you talk about the traits and the attributes of what you hope is an elite player, he doesn't have that, and that's okay. The one other thing he does have that's important to note is extreme toughness. He was sacked 94 times, Greeny, over 2 years, and he missed one game. Durability at the quarterback position is critically important.
Orlovsky, go.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is important today is if I'm there watching the pro day today, I want to see the ball jump off his hand. Because one of the notes that I have watching his tape that comes up consistently is I want you to fire the football. I wish he had to drive the football more often. Touch throws, maybe anticipation throws, they're really good. And I comped them to Tua. Tua's got one of one anticipation. He doesn't have Tua's anticipation, but I would want to see Shadur just have to put his back foot in the ground and just drive the football and rip the football because I want to see it jump off his hand a little bit. Cam Ward does that, and that's why Cam's going to go number one. It's a trampoline out of his hand. Yeah. And I just want to see if I would want to see if Shadur has that. Other things that you watch his tape and you're like, man, you're locking on Travis Hunter. Probably justifiably so. Other things on tape when you go, you're predetermining getting out of the pocket. The pass protection was terrible at Colorado. That's why he is such a fascinating evaluation because there's such highs and then some questionable lows.
And Graz, you were at the owners' meetings last week and everything else. The Raiders, for those of you who didn't see it yesterday, signed Geno Smith, huge contract. Seems to take them at 6 completely out of this conversation. No one I know thinks the Jets are going to take a quarterback at 7. So in a world in which Tannenbaum is right and what Schefter's been saying is right, and Shadur gets past 3, then what is our sense of where this thing might wind up?
We look at the Saints at number 9 as a team that has a long-term question to answer at the position. Further down the round, the Steelers at 21. And then you start to think about if the Browns and Giants like him and just don't like him at 2 or 3, do they trade up from the early part of the second round back into the first to try and get him?
That's going to be the most interesting part. If he's still sitting there at 21, it will surprise me enormously. But you never know. All right, back to the big basketball game as we roll. Much more from these guys as we continue. But Jimmy Buckets, has that trade actually been bigger than the Luka deal? We're going to let you make the call, and so will our crew. Plus, drama in Miami, a buzzer beater, and yet it's not at all what everyone is talking about this morning. It's not what you're going to be talking about either. You'll find out why next. You're watching Get Up on ESPN.
Mình học con xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn tô tượng. Tượng hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề